All right, everybody, today we are going to work on I can identify coordinating conjunctions, and I can tell the difference between independent and dependent clauses. So we've talked a bit about clauses already, but as a reminder, clauses are groups of related words that have a subject and a predicate. Some clauses can stand on their own and others cannot. So there are two types of clauses. There are independent clauses. Those are the ones that can stand on their own. And then there's dependent clauses that cannot stand on their own. They need to be paired with another clause. So think about Santa Claus. This first one, he's independent. He's all by himself. He doesn't need any other Santa Clauses. This Santa Claus is dependent. He needs a whole lot of other clauses, at least one other clause to help him out. So we'll start first with independent clauses. Independent clauses can be short, such as he reads. We have a subject, he, a verb, reads, and it expresses a complete thought. Other independent clauses, however, can be very long. My older brother constantly reads books from the library about space aliens. I still have my subject, my older brother. I still have my verb, reads. I just have a whole lot of extra words in there too. But it still expresses a complete thought, so it's still an independent clause. So again, both have a subject, he or my older brother. Both have a verb, reads and reads. Both make sense on their own, so these are both independent clauses. Here are some other examples. Confidence is a great thing to have. In all of these examples, my subject is going to be red, my verb is going to be blue. The English class comes into class quietly. Ames Tigers are the best. Beyonce married Jay-Z. They were 5th graders last year. So all of these are examples of independent clauses. Again, they all have subjects in red. They all have verbs in blue. And most importantly, they can all stand alone by themselves. A dependent clause has a subject and a verb, so that part is the same. But it also has a subordinating conjunction that prevents it from being a complete thought. The subordinating conjunction is going to attach itself to the clause and force it to be dependent. A dependent clause cannot be a sentence. It depends upon an independent clause. So I told you that subordinating conjunctions attach themselves to clauses. These subordinating conjunctions are some of the most common ones out there. Words like after, before, when. These are some of the words that are going to attach themselves to clauses. So let's look at some dependent clauses now. While confidence is a great thing to have. Notice that this is the same clause we looked at earlier. Confidence is a great thing to have. That was an independent clause. But now we've added the subordinating conjunction while, and now it's a dependent clause. It depends on more information. All of my subordinating conjunctions are going to appear in purple. Since the English class comes into class quietly, because Ames Tigers are the best, when Beyonce married Jay-Z, even though they were 5th graders last year. Notice in each of these examples, these dependent clauses are going to leave questions unanswered. When Beyonce married Jay-Z, what happened? There needs to be more information there to finish the thought. So I have a trick for you in how to tell the difference between an independent clause and a dependent clause. If you can put, "Can you believe that?" in front of a clause and have it make sense, then it is an independent clause. But if it doesn't make sense, it's a dependent clause. Can you believe that Beyonce married Jay-Z? That question makes sense, so I know that Beyonce married Jay-Z is an independent clause. Can you believe that when Beyonce married Jay-Z? That doesn't make sense, so I know that when Beyonce married Jay-Z is a dependent clause. So let's practice. We're going to look at some sentences that have an independent clause and a dependent clause combined. We're going to first find the subordinated conjunction, and then we're going to identify which clause is dependent. Beyonce looked fierce when she performed on the VMAs. Which word is the subordinating conjunction? And then which clause is the dependent clause? Let's do this one together. I know that my subordinating conjunction is a word that is going to attach itself to a clause, and that the subordinating conjunction is the word that is going to make the clause depend on more information. So what word here is going to make the clause depend on more information? When. When is the subordinating conjunction. And then the clause that is dependent is going to come immediately after the subordinating conjunction. So which clause here is the dependent clause? When she performed on the VMAs. So that's what I'm going to have you do in the next few slides. Now you try. In the sentence, whenever she's nervous, she bites her nails. What word is the subordinating conjunction? In other words, what word here makes part of the sentence depend on another part of the sentence? If you selected whenever, I agree with you entirely. Now, if whenever is our subordinating conjunction, which clause, whenever she's nervous or she bites her nails, is the dependent clause? Whenever she's nervous. The subordinating conjunction is always going to be the first word of the dependent clause. So here, whenever she's nervous is our dependent clause. Remember, we can test that out by using the phrase, can you believe that? If I say, can you believe that whenever she's nervous, that doesn't make sense. So I know that that is my dependent clause. But I can say, can you believe that she bites her nails? Since that makes sense, I know that she bites her nails is my independent clause. Let's try another one. Since we all pitched in to help, it didn't take long at all. Which word here is the subordinating conjunction? Which word is the word that makes part of the sentence depend upon the other part of the sentence? If you selected since, I agree with you entirely, which leaves which clause as my dependent clause? Yep, that's since we all pitched in to help. That part of the sentence depends upon it didn't take long at all. Next one. We'll go as soon as I'm off the phone. I'm going to give you a big hint here. My subordinating conjunction is actually 3 words in this example. As soon as. So my subordinating conjunctions aren't always going to just be one word. Sometimes they are groups of words, like as soon as. So which phrase here, which clause is my dependent clause? As soon as I'm off the phone. Now this one may have been tricky because the independent clause was only 2 words, but those 2 words had everything that we need for a complete thought. It had the subject we and the verb go. Because I stayed up late, I accidentally turned off my alarm clock. Which word here depends upon more information? In other words, which word is my subordinating conjunction? Because. So which clause is my dependent clause? Because I stayed up late. When I hear single ladies, I dance like crazy. Which word is my subordinating conjunction? When. Which clause is my dependent clause? When I hear single ladies. Last one. Even though I wish I didn't, I really like the song Good For You. Which word or words is my subordinating conjunction? Even though. And which clause is my dependent clause? Even though I wish I didn't. So here again were our I can statements for this mini lesson. I can identify subordinating conjunctions, and I can tell the difference between independent and dependent clauses. Please take a moment now to rate your comfort with these two I can statements, where 1 is that you are completely confused, 2 is that you are a little bit confused, 3 is you feel okay, 4 is that you feel pretty confident, and 5 is that you feel like you could explain this to somebody else who understands it so well.